I'm walking along US 31 in Greenwood, actually, and all along this road, it is incredibly commercial. So you can find just about every single thing that you can find across the entire country, minus some of the seriously regional things like, what's a good example? An In-N-Out burger. We don't have In-N-Out burgers here, but I know that's a big thing in some other parts of the country. Jack in the Box was one of those kinds of things that you wouldn't find anywhere in the country except a few regions. They kind of leak their way in here, although it's not very big, but those are the kind of things that I mean. So US 31 has all of these things. And I was actually with a client yesterday, and they were from California, and they were driving around as soon as they got here, and they're just trying to figure the place out. So how they could figure out what really makes a place like Greenwood different, or not even Greenwood, but Indianapolis or Avon or Carmel or Greenfield, any place. How do you do that? So we're going to talk about that a little bit in this video. Stay tuned. Hey everybody, I'm Jason Compton with Living in Indianapolis team and channel. Welcome back. If it's your first time to the channel, welcome to you as well. If you have questions about what we're talking about today or anything regarding any of these cities and towns around Indy and Indy itself, be sure that you reach out. Email, text, phone, we'll answer that. We'll get into the details for you for sure. So again, today I'm along US 31, which is a pretty major highway. Goes through Indianapolis all the way south of Greenwood and continues on, and it goes clear into Michigan and northern Michigan. So it's going to have a lot of stops along the way, like it does right here. This is a super busy intersection, but there's another one, another highway or busy commercial road, and it's State Road 135. It's over to the west of where I am right now, but if you were going down State Road 135 or down US 31, tons of similarities. So you're going to find those restaurants that you find all over the country, like a Wendy's or a Jimmy John's or a a million different McDonald's. You'll find car dealerships, TJ Maxx, Lowe's, Walmart, all of the usuals. So if you're driving up and down these and you're trying to figure out what's it like in Greenwood, what does it look like? Why is it different? And this was what yesterday our client said, is that, I don't know, we like it okay, but it just doesn't really look any different than what we're already used to. And that's completely fair. When you're going around the country and you visit a lot of different cities, a lot of those cities do look similar to other cities because we all live in the same country. So we're all, for the most part, seeing a lot of the same things everywhere, all these different franchises, all these different stores. But we do know at our heart, because we all live in a particular place, that once you get to know that city or town or where you live, it's not as if it's the most unique place in the entire world. I mean, how can you possibly get that? There are some places in the world that you could say are so unique. There's no place like this anywhere in the world, but really, truly, those places are kind of rare. And they're known as what they are because they're so different, or they have something that's so different. So if you're in a big city like Chicago, well, go around Chicago, you're going to find a lot of similarities there that you do to Indianapolis. Go to Orlando. It has its unique things, definitely, but it also has a tremendous number of similarities. So when you're traveling from one city to the next, I mean, really, truly, how worried are you about getting around? You know the language, you know at the very least you can drive or get a ride somewhere. It's not like you're going to the backside of the moon and worried about breathing and food and water and things like that. You know you're going to be taken care of just about anywhere you go. So how do you get over that fence? Well, what we've done in the past, what we've noticed over a good number of years working with a lot of people not from here, is this. tell them to go to unique places to that particular city. So if we're talking about Greenwood as an example, well, one of the places I'll tell them to go would be right here at this intersection that I'm walking up to now, which is Main Street and Madison Avenue. And it's pretty neat. This is the old downtown part of Greenwood. And is there a ton here? Absolutely not, but it at least is unique to Greenwood, and you can pass through here and just see what it's like, and of course see what it's like around the area. So in there you'd have a couple of breweries, a couple of restaurants, things like that. So a few things, but walking distance to that, we've got Old City Park, and this big open area, super cool playground there behind me. But you know, if you don't have kids or you aren't a kid yourself, then you're probably not really going to care much about the playground. However, now I need to say that in most cases, you should care about those things regardless whether you're going to use them or not. And I'll get into that in just a moment. But another place to go to is right here at the Greenwood Amphitheater, which I can see just ahead of me right now. It's another place that actually I would tell somebody to go just to check out whether there's nothing going on or something going on, because you need to know it exists. You need to know all of these places exist. So a place like this is where the community gathers. The parks that I told you I would say something about and why you should care. It's because they're pieces of the community that help the community to stay together. It's also what the community, whether that's Greenwood or some other city around Indianapolis, it's what the city can spend some of its money on and making sure that it looks really nice. So just Greenwood in particular, to get to know it, if you don't, I'm gonna bring up my list right now actually. If you don't know it at all, first of all, the location, if you're moving here, is probably in 9 out of 10 people's cases, probably more than that, is the most important thing. People are always a certain level of flexible as to where they're going to or prefer to live. Some people are just dead set on a particular area, but even if you're really flexible, all the way down to just a little bit flexible, you still need to dial in that location. So this list of places to visit helps to dial that in, just what your preferences are. So if you were to come to this amphitheater here, and interestingly, there's somebody up there recording, talking about, it looks like something musical. So they're getting their stuff together, I guess, for what it's gonna look like. So this place, you may not even know exists, because honestly, it's tucked away back in here in this Serena Square Park. You can park on the parking lot up here pretty close to Craig Park, or you could park where I did at Old City Park, but you can't see this back here. So for one, it puts it on the map for you to come and check out, which is hugely important. But what does it look like around this area? Is it old? Is it new? Is it mature? Is it just wide open and there are no trees? Are the homes older? Are the homes newer? Is there anything around me? Like some of the stuff I talked about at the beginning of the video. You know, if you want your Wendy's really close by, or you want a TJ Maxx really close by, how close is it? Sometimes you can get into areas that feel really far from everything, but they're actually only about 5 or 10 minutes from just about anything you'd ever need on a daily basis, like a grocery store, or the school that your kids might go to, or a park, kind of like Old City Park, or some of the other parks that you have here in Greenwood that, again, you may or may not care about, but you still should for the reasons that I mentioned just before. So using these as just guideposts for your exploration, it takes away from you just driving around just aimlessly and wandering around with no purpose at all. At least you can program these into the GPS, go to those, and then go through some of the variables that I talked about. So again, at that list, City Center Park, Craig Park, Freedom Springs Greenwood Aquatics Park, which is a really cool little kind of a water park. It's awesome, it's fun. Greenwood Amphitheater, which I was just at. Serena Square Park, just here. Greenwood Park Mall. I mean, maybe you don't care about malls, but it's here, and it's nice to know what's around that. Old City Park, Old Town Greenwood. This is just some of the stuff that I'm talking about. So Fishers we have a list for, Greenfield we have a list for, Carmel we have a list for, Westfield we have a list for. And some of these places, the lists are smaller because there are fewer places within it. Maybe it's only 10,000 people, but a place like Carmel or Fishers where there are over 100,000 people, we've got, I think, more than 15 places that you would need to see, we think, at least in our opinion, to start gaining a little better understanding of how that city is different from the city right next door. The city right next door has everything that it has. So if you go into Carmel, Carmel has a Target, well, so does Fishers. Carmel has mini McDonald's, Fishers, mini McDonald's. It just goes on and on and on. So we're looking for those differences and trying to dial in your preferences. If you've never been to this area before, it's usually surprising to people as to how big the whole Indy Metro is. So using these things just to help narrow your focus, to dial in and get really as clear as you can with what your preferences are, is extremely beneficial. So if you need some help with just figuring out the personality to the best of your knowledge of a particular city around Indy or Indy itself, then make sure you reach out to us. We'll be happy to point you in the right direction. We'll catch you in the next one.